So number one, we have black pastel on pastel mat, and you can use the blackest black pastel that you have. I use a combination of the CB1 and CB2 from Unison rather, and also this black stick from Faber-Castell, but just use what you have. Really, at the end of the day, it's the contrast that will make you have a blacker black anyway. Now on top of this you can add freeze spray. This is the Clairefontaine, who actually make pastel mat fixative for pastel, and I don't really find it that useful as a fixative for general paintings, but I do find it good to make black blacker, and also to fix black. It's not very good at fixing light colours, but it's really good at fixing dark colours and making them darker. So that's freeze spray. Okay, and that means that when I go like this, I don't get any pastel off. So now I can just go over the top of that and use that without fear of getting my hand covered in pastel or too much black and everything just going black and muddy. So number two here is actually a watercolor pen. It's called a brush pen, and it's water-based, obviously, because it's watercolor. It's got a little brush tip on it, and you can add water to it to make it spread and just act like watercolor, really. So that's quite good. What I've done on here is put 2 layers on. So where you see here, that's 2 layers, and that's 1 layer. That's 2 layers there as well. When I was transporting it from the house to the studio, it got wet in the rain, so I put a little bit of extra on. You can see that there. So it is a bit darker there, so I'm going to put a little bit more on here. You probably will get it darker. So that's 2 layers there. Let's see what it does here for 3 layers. But pastel mat is by nature textured, so I don't know what it would do to that brush eventually. But you know, if that's all you've got, that would work for you. Let's see what happens when that dries as we go along. Now down here we've got number 3, which is gouache, Gouache, or gouache, depending on how you want to say it. This one also got wet in the rain. You can see those little spots there, but it doesn't matter. Now I just put a very, very quick rough layer on, minimal water, just enough to make it not so thick, because if you get gouache too thick, it will leave an edge to it, and you really don't want that. So you want it to be more like behaving like watercolor. But you can see here I've gone a bit too thin, and in places I have gone thick. But that might not even matter. If you're creating something where you just want to go a bit darker in places, having something that's got a variable surface might be quite good. I could add another layer of gouache, and that would be completely black. As you can see down here, it's a really good thick black, and great for using as a background if you need to. Now this one is watercolor. This is number 4. This is Cotman watercolor, and this one was Winsor & Newton Designer's Gouache. So a good one. I wouldn't skimp on blacks and whites in terms of getting a quality brand to give you a strong colour. So the watercolour, again, I started off here and it just got a bit thinner. My tube was running out because I don't use it very much, but that's the watercolour I used, a Cotman one, lamp black. And again, you can see here it is very black and really good to use as well. Just need to be a bit more, add a bit more pigment down here. And then this one, which I'm sure you've all been looking at and thinking, wow, look at that, look how smooth it is, look how even it is. It's really nice, isn't it? So that's number 5, and that is actually acrylic ink, and it was so easy to go on. This is the acrylic ink in the bottle. It's Liquitex acrylic ink. This one must have been by far the easiest and quickest one to get on there, and I think in future I'll be using that one because it's so good. I don't know if it'll go darker if I add another layer, because I haven't tested that yet. Probably, highly likely. And this one down here would be good, because if I'd given it a more of an even layer as well. Now, I did say there's 6, so where is the 6th one? Now, this one is really interesting. So here we are, number 6, and this is anthracite paper. So these other ones are this is dark grey pastel matte. Even though it doesn't look dark grey, it is dark grey, and this one here is anthracite. So call this number 6, and it's anthracite plus the freeze spray. And look how much darker it is to the anthracite. Here I must have got a couple of layers of spray compared to here, whereas here it's a little bit lighter. But a couple of layers of that freeze spray and you'll be just, it's just really easy to get a blacker surface to use rather than adding pastel or paint, and literally just spraying that on and waiting 10 minutes for it to dry, and you've immediately got a blacker surface and you haven't lost any tooth at all. And that freeze spray is designed to go on here as well, whereas this one obviously you're going to have lost a bit of tooth on there because that's pastel on there, but you've added the freeze spray on top, so that is a good choice. And then over here we've got the paint, so the watercolor pen. Let's just write what that is. It's the Ecoline brand, Ecoline, and that's good. But a couple of layers. You can see the second layer I've done is much darker. It probably does need a little bit more drying as well. The gouache is perfectly black, and that actually does feel a little bit more textured. So gouache is good, watercolor is good, and if you really want a beautiful smooth surface, acrylic ink is good, as is the anthracite. And if we put the anthracite plus the freeze spray next to each other, you can see the acrylic ink is darker. But if we go to this 2 layers here, it's almost the same, isn't it? So you've got 2 different ways to get a very black smooth coverage there.